Hello, and welcome back to the Talk Nats podcast. I am your host, Kevin Nibley, and we are sponsored by Old DC Apparel. Head on over to shopoldDC.com. You can get the latest and greatest in original DC fan gear. They have some new baseball stuff up for the spring, as well as a couple of Beer Snake shirts. The mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, was spotted wearing one of their hats in public. So, if the mayor likes it, pretty cool, right? Use the code TalkNatsPod at checkout for 10% off your order. As always, you can find us on YouTube at TalkNats Podcast. That's also our handle on X. And you can find the audio only version of this show on any major podcast platform. All right, we are recording this Wednesday night just after the Nats 15-2 blowout of the Twins. Decent homestand so far at 2-3 at the moment. Team looking about the same, 17-20 as we print this episode. So yeah, we're going to continue getting into our early impressions of this team. I think a team that's doing a little bit better than we all expected. 17-20, not bad. Considering the roster they had on paper isn't exactly something that's going to blow you away coming out of spring training. To be this close to 500, almost a quarter into the season is pretty impressive. Pretty great job by Butera and company, especially all the runs they're scoring. I don't think anyone in their right mind thought that a team that's gonna sometimes feature a lineup with Jacob Young, Vivas, Tena, Nunez, Millis, all in the same lineup, is going to be near the top of the league in scoring. I mean, that's really a great credit for what they're doing on the hitting side of things. Pitching's still a mixed bag, but we'll get into all this. We're bringing in our friend Dylan McCrink. You know him probably better as Nats Fanatics. He has a really big Instagram account, a lot of followers, and he's going to join us to talk about the early impressions of this 2026 Nats team. We went on for a little bit, so we're going to break this up into two parts. So today is part one with Dylan McCrink, aka Nationals Fanatics. Right now, I am joined by Dylan McCrink, also known as Nats Fanatics, big Instagram account. Dylan, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Of course, more than happy to.
Cool. Now, we're about 5 weeks into the season, team 16-20, I believe, at the moment. Is that about what you expected, and what's your overall feeling about the Nationals so far?
I I guess I don't think anyone expected us to be third in the NL East for one thing, even with a 16-20 record. Um, so I don't think anyone expected us to be here. Did I? I'm not going to say that I did because I don't think majority of analysts would have pegged us to be at this point in the season. But um, my overall feeling is hopeful. I would say the sparked offense that's like this tag team group of guys that can fill different roles has been has been like a managerial masterpiece for me because I'm looking at it and go, well, Blake Butera is putting in Jose Tanya to pinch hit and he's getting a hit, right? So
Yeah.
I'm very hopeful with this team, but we've seen some setbacks, we've seen some positives. Um, right now, we're not a postseason team. If some people feel that way, I'm not sure, but we've got some goods, we got some bads, so I'm hopeful.
Definitely. You mentioned Butera. He's definitely a more active manager than perhaps we've been used to. Like he will pinch hit for the catcher. He'll do platoon switches in the middle of the game. How do you feel about the new direction, to Boni Butera and how that's working for the team so far?
Good, generally good. I I'm more appreciative of the manager and the president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, being more involved, whether that's in day-to-day operations or even just talking to the media. Um, I can't remember where I heard it, so I don't want to take credit for it. it was something about Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo, more Mike Rizzo, and it was near the end of his tenure. He kind of stopped talking to the media, and it struck me as very odd that was something that happened with him. But Paul and Blake have been like so open to talk to our in-house reporters, and it's great to like get their insight on, hey, what went wrong this game, or hey, what's the thought, or what's going on in the farm. Like we know those, we can ask those questions and get those answers a lot quicker, which is awesome.
Definitely. Now, as it stands, when we're recording this on a Wednesday, the night after they got blown out by the Twins, it seems like a tale of two teams in a way. They look great on the road, not so good at home. What do you make of that? Is that just a small sample, just random baseball numbers, or is there something to it? Is a team just playing differently at home?
That's a tough question.
Sure.
The records are like literally looking complete opposites. I think it's like 3 wins at home or something like that.
It's pretty
But
bad. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know what's going through each player's head when they talk about that. And go, well, I'm not performing in front of the home crowd, or there's something different. I'm seeing the ball different. I'm not sure like how that translates like on field production. Um, but to not be able to play and win series in front of your home fans, like that's demoralizing, I would think, as a player and the team morale. So being able to go on the road and knock the ball off and hit home runs is great. But not being able to perform at home, I don't know. Like that's such a weird, like as a fan slash analyst slash what, like
Yeah.
I'll turn the question to you because I'm having trouble answering it. Right. So how would you, like if you were in Blake Gutierrez's shoes and go, we need better production, like what would you do?
No, so that's a good question. No, I mean, as a fan who also a season ticket holder, I think I was there last night. I think I might be 1-3 or 1-4. It's all a blur. All I know is the only time I saw them win was a few weeks ago, the game where they blew out Atlanta. But yeah, I don't, at least I think it's been a pitching issue, at least to the games I've attended. I've seen them score the ball some, but early in the season the bullpen was blowing games. Now it seems like the bullpen's stabilized just enough, but now
Yep.
they're having some starting pitching issues. It seems at home where guys are, like last night, Cavalli had a bad inning and they're down 6-1 pretty early on, and there've been a few Michaelis starts and Littell starts where they've gone through similar things. So yeah, if I was Butera, I wouldn't necessarily make a big issue out of it this early in the season. Sometimes that's just the luck of the draw and all that. But I do think if it's a few weeks down the road and they're still winning like one out of every 3 or 4 games at home, then maybe you do need to think that it could be a mental issue. And I'm not sure exactly how the
Yeah.
approach that would play. It is a young team. I don't think you want to panic too much around a young team. You want to just keep things chill. But yeah, no, it's
Well, what I
curious.
think is interesting, well, don't get me wrong. In the grand scheme of things, we're a month in, small sample size, right?
Mhm.
But what I think is interesting is there's all this conversation about new technology, traject machine, the tools that we have when we're at home,
Hmm.
not away. So,
Hmm.
right, if I'm Jose Tena, and I keep using him as an example because I love how he's playing, if I can go into the cages and be like, okay, I'm going to face this relief pitcher if I get called upon, like I should have an extra advantage being able to see that guy.
Hmm.
So when we're at home, we're using that tool, but why isn't it producing? So that's just my own little tidbit.
No, it's interesting to think that potentially there sometimes maybe there's too much information. I don't know. Maybe they focus better on the road. Who knows? But yeah, so far, I guess, is there something that stands out to you that you weren't expecting that you're encouraged about this season? And then I'll also ask, is there something that's been disappointing or has gone wrong in a way you didn't quite expect?
Well, I guess there's two easy answers to that. Very excited about the offense and very not excited about the bullpen,
Sure.
which I could go into that and give you my thoughts, but I guess I kind of already talked about the offense a little bit. What the one thing that I am, and maybe like the fans won't see it as much because they're not going to be as super uh, dove into it, but the amount of moves that Paul Taboni is using calling up guys for different matchups or
Mhm.
getting some players some more reps. Like Riley Cornelio did not have a great MLB debut, but the whole verbiage and talk after that start and how it went was like, hey, didn't go how we wanted it to go, but the goal is to get Riley some reps, right? We want to
Yeah.
get a lot of our players involved in the MLB so that the year when they do get called up, it's not a foreign concept to them. They don't have a struggling freshman year, rookie year, where they can just go and be like, hey, this is just like AAA. I know what I'm doing. I just got to go in there, do my job, follow my routine, and I'll be fine. So I'm very intrigued and honestly happy that Baltimore is making some of these moves. I know our bullpen has now, I think we definitely have the most bullpen pitchers used this season.
Yeah, no, I mean he's definitely kind of had like a little shuttle bus, to Rochester, and it's worked at times. I mean, it's been interesting though too, where I think as a Nats fan, I'd like to see Alvarez back. I mean, he looked pretty good, in his
Hmm.
appearance, and then Rebalta looked pretty good in Pittsburgh when they used him in an actual high leverage spot. But so I would say it's a touch frustrating when you see a guy come up and succeed that immediately he's going back just because they need fresh arms. Uh, but
Exactly.
yeah, no, it's been interesting. So to get into some players specifically, how do you feel about CJ? He's had a pretty hot start. Do you view him as a star the Nats could potentially extend or build around, or do you just see him like a lot of people do as a trade chip that's going to get flipped at the deadline this year for even more prospects as this team kind of continues to rebuild the rebuild, as they say?
Well, I latch on to players, and I think we
Sure,
all
yeah.
do in some sort of way. And I really do like CJ, and I want to think about it analytically, like, hey, his play is so good, we're not in the competitive window. Maybe we trade him, maybe not. But I think what's in my mind, I'm giving myself towards maybe a week or two before the trade deadline before I make up my mind. Because for the last 2 years, CJ has gotten off to a torrid start and
Mhm.
then just gotten cold. So if he can flip that switch and go after the All-Star break, I'm going to be above average hitter with consistency. I will feel a heck of a lot better on making the argument to keep him. Or if he does get traded, it better be for a haul. Um, I like him. The only facet of his game that most people don't is his defense. And that's why I don't look at him as like a five tool, CJ's the face of the franchise kind of guy. And that's fine. Not everyone is that kind of player. Um, but there's definitely a case to keeping him. And I think he proves it's weird because like if he plays so well, they might trade him. If he plays so well, they might keep him.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah,
I don't think it's like you give that guy the max contract and he's the face of the franchise and he's Juan Soto or Aaron Judge. I think
sure.
he's a supporting all-star, and that's more than fine for what he can be.
No, definitely. I mean, do you think there's a world where potentially they could talk to him and see if he wants to move to second base? I do feel like that's probably his future in the majors. I know they haven't really, it doesn't seem like they've broached it here, but I know that like some of the teams that might want to trade for him, they're talking about, trading for him and plugging him in at second. How long do you think he'll be at short for much longer? Do you think that move's coming soon?
I think I think there's always a case if the bat's hot, you have to play him.
Yeah.
The Nationals drafted very heavy in the shortstop position, and those guys are pretty far out, like Eli and Gavin
Mhm.
Feen. Hoy James is another shortstop. Those guys are pretty far out. So if CJ stays for another 2 or 3 years and Eli Willits is making an argument to be in the majors, I think that's when that conversation gets broached about switching to second. Um, like if Seaver King gets called up this year, I really don't think he takes shortstop away or Nassian
Sure.
takes shortstop
Yeah.
away from CJ. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like one of those things like let's kick the can down the line and make that decision later down the year or later down his career. But if a team in the deadline trades for him, yeah, that's probably a conversation that comes up where it's like, well, we're not going to go give you five prospects for CJ who's not going to play second if we need him to. So
Sure.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah. So switching, I guess, to pitching a little bit. Rotation was, had some issues. How do you feel about it so far, a month or so into the season?
Well, I'll be honest, the beginning of the year, I was very, very hesitant on the starting rotation. Um, I was high on Cade, optimistic about Foster, and he's been amazing. But then Michaelis, Littell, and Irvin, I was a little concerned about. Those guys have high home run allowed numbers. And we kind of saw that a little bit going into the year. Like Cade struggled to start, Foster's been great so far, and then those three other guys have struggled, Irvin, Littell, and Michaelis. So I'm I would say like I'm a tick more optimistic than I was um after maybe the White Sox series or before that.
Mhm.
So Michaelis has showed me that he could maybe eat innings and do the job that he was supposed to be here to do.
Yeah, yeah,
But Littell hasn't shown
yeah.
me anything, and Irvin's been in and out. So I'm a little bit more optimistic with that group, but when they're not pitching well or pitching at least average, then the game's almost lost unless our offense does something crazy like they have been. So I'm a big fan of some of these guys. I hope they perform well. But the reality of it is, if they don't pitch to their best ability, the game's almost lost by like the fourth or fifth inning.
It's true. It's true. It has been. I mean, what have you made though of, I guess, Butera running this very Tampa style? Like with Michaelis, it seemed to work lately. This idea of, using Poulin as an opener usually is what they do with him, and then it's Michaelis, and then maybe they bring in Mitchell Parker or someone like that, and they sort of squeeze through 6, 7 innings that way. Are you a fan of that technique with some of these pitchers that have been struggling as a way to maybe minimize, have them only go through a lineup once or one and a half times?
Yes, and I think as a manager, you got a game plan for who's on the mound. What do you expect out of them? What do you want out of them? And then yeah, right. Can my bullpen handle that? If Michaelis can't go five, then I'm going to have to tax Poulin or tax Brad Lord to get some more innings. But I think that if you have those assets available and Miles is struggling, then yeah, I'm all for trying the Tampa style. I'm all for making these like call up Riley Cornelio, call up Alvarez, call up not Chaparro, Rebalta,
Mm.
call up these guys to fill innings and eat. And I, I don't want to single players out, but like last year, Jackson Rutledge was struggling. And it
Yeah.
was so frustrating to see him go out on the mound every day and struggle. And I'm like, okay, well, the season's behind us now, right? We're in the back half of the year, and why are we continuing to put Rutledge up there? Like, let's get another guy some reps from the minors. So I'm really a big fan of Taboni. Hey, let's call this guy up. Let's call this guy up, and at least I'm seeing new faces. So I'm not frustrated that we're just throwing the same guy out there and he's struggling every day.
No, definitely. Speaking of struggling, Cavalli last night had a rough outing. His ERA is still respectable because he ended up kind of
Hmm.
booting a ball that got charged as an error. So it did. His ERA is still around four. It didn't completely blow up from that start last night, oddly, because he himself made an error on a pretty easy play that could have, ended that inning or made it not so damaging. But where are you with him? I mean, I know going into the season, a lot of folks were hoping he'd rise to this level of like a future ace, maybe replace Mackenzie Gore on some level. I wouldn't say that's happened yet, but how do you feel about Caden? Do you think he still has a better ceiling than where he is now, or is this kind of who he's going to be?
I think we got a taste of what that ceiling could be with the two double 10 strikeout games.
Mm.
Um, I would look at the start last night and go, all right, just flush it. It's a wash. Like you're going to have one of those days. Um, and I think there's a lot of weight on his shoulders being named opening day starter,
Mm.
being like tapped as you're the guy because Mackenzie's gone. And like, this is just, I think perspective is key here. This is his first full season post any injury concerns.
Mm.
So he has the talent. He always has. It's just about staying healthy at that level. So for him to go, okay, well now I got to lead this rotation. I got to make sure that my health is in order. I got to make sure my stuff is good, and I got to work through a whole MLB season for the first time in my career. That's a lot of pressure to put on a guy to just do it at all. Um, I think Cade has the attitude, the aptitude, and the ability to do that. But patience is not a Nats like characteristic that we have
Sure.
as
Yeah.
fans. But I think we're gonna have to be patient with him. I know he's 27 now, and it's kind of frustrating where it's like, well, he's late 20s. We'd hope he's performing, he's in his prime. But Cade's one of those guys where it's like he can be a 10 strikeout pitcher. He can show you those flashes, but I think we need to be a little bit more patient and get him another this year under his belt before we can like seriously go, all right, like we need a quality start out of you just about every day. So I think Cade's got a window of top tier talent, but we need to ease him into that so we don't run into any more injury concerns, etc.
All right. Thanks again to Dylan. Check out his site. The Instagram account is great. I try to look at it as often as I can. And we'll be back with him next Friday to talk more about our early impressions of the season. As always, please check out talknats.com, shopoldbc.com. They are the two entities keeping this on the air every week. And hopefully the Nats can go down to Miami and inch closer to 500. I think have to be really encouraged the team is this close to 500 a quarter of the way through. And as always, until next Friday, go Nats.